Farms don't stay static. They change and adjust over time, just as we are starting to learn about sustainability and all of those things that we deal with every day, all the time.
This will monitor the temperature for the pullets in the barn right from day one.
You'll hear and see what we do at the farm level, but I'm just as interested to hear and see what consumers and public and stakeholders have to say about egg farming nowadays. So I'm very, very passionate about agricultural education, and that's one of the reasons that I'm hosting this tour today. I love to be an advocate. I love to have people understand what food production is like nowadays, because so many people don't know anything about where their food comes from.
When we're talking about our food, we're talking about something that is so ingrained in our traditions, our culture, our family, and that passion, when it can roll like this in this environment, it makes a huge difference for multi-stakeholder engagement. It makes it genuine. There's nothing superficial about it. It gets very real very quick.
Here, I think like many farmers, you develop a very strong connection to the land. You always have to take so many things into consideration. What's good for our land, what's good for the animals that I care for, what's good for my family, and what's good for my business.
What we want to say is that if we just tell our story louder, everything will be okay. And 99% of the farmers that I know are doing the right thing and they want to move forward and they're working on things within the context of the real struggles within their own operation. But I think we can't forget that our industry isn't perfect. There are things that we need to work on. So just telling the story louder isn't going to make those weaknesses go away.
I think our biggest environmental footprint reducing on the farms right now for me is feed. That's our biggest environmental input that we're having, that has the biggest environmental footprint, feed and manure.
Things are constantly shifting, and somebody said, oh well, the issue today is animal welfare, but the issue tomorrow is going to become more focused on the environment, and who knows what the issue next time is going to be. As we learn more, things evolve, and the producers that are willing to evolve with us on issues like beef trimming or whatever, the source of that movement is based in shared values at the end of the day.
Right now we're at a place where we've got more demand for eggs than we have capacity for in the province. So this is putting pressure on all of our producers. We've got a tremendous number of barns being built right now. How are they going to house these birds? And so with every one of our new producers that's building a barn, we strive to sit down with them and give them a good sense of what consumers are wanting, what's happening with major retailers, what's happening with the activist groups.
Sometimes being defensive about our system and we bulldoze all the cages, maybe there's an opportunity to tell the consumer, we love birds and the best way to take them from 25% mortality down to 2% mortality was to put them in a cage and clean it up, and that's why we did all those things in the first place. But I think sometimes there's a foregone conclusion that what we're doing must be wrong because people are asking for cage-free. But the reason, as a veterinarian who cares about birds, I've dedicated my life to this. The reason a lot of those birds are in cages is because that's the best job we can do for that bird.
You were talking about biosecurity with dogs and cats, and I'm thinking dogs and cats are not your biggest biosecurity issue. Dogs and cats are your biggest issue because 85% of people are 2 generations removed from the farm. It's the only non-human contact that they have with something. And it's not, leave the cat out all night. It's 7:02 and Josie's usually in by now, and it's a whole different thing. And I'm holding your kitten or your kitten. I'm holding your chicken yesterday, but I'm holding it like I hold my cat at home, and I'm petting it like I'm petting my, and I'm thinking about like, oh, I'm sure like she's enjoying this, like she's probably not having any of those thoughts, but I'm from Toronto and I'm holding a chicken. It's a fun, exciting day for me, right?
All the big companies, the Loblaws, the Sobeys, and Walmarts, and Metros of the world, those 4 retailers probably control about 80% of the retail landscape in Canada. They've all been to farms across Canada, and all these companies have CSR and sustainability people. Jeff from McDonald's, and A&W, everybody has these questions. I know your boss and your boss's boss have all been to our farm, and we sit down as stakeholders and talk about it. Here's what we're doing. What do you want? Those conversations are happening.
We start with voluntary programs, and then we get to a point where we've got critical mass that are on side, and those producers are the ones that are coming forward and saying, board, now we're there. Everybody needs to be able to do this and pass this program or be accredited on this program in order to produce eggs in Alberta. That happened with our Start Clean, Stay Clean program. It happened with our animal care program. They're at risk by allowing my neighbor to be somewhat below the standard. And it's a risk that the whole industry bears.
I believe the most important part of a message is what's heard and not what's said. We've provided a lot of evidence and science for which the consumer or society may be saying, so what? I don't get it. This doesn't relate to me. So we need to make sure that we tweak our language. I think we need to have firm evidence, and back to my earlier comment this morning about the need for indicators and objectives for those indicators. Yes. I think we need to have that so that when somebody challenges us, we can say, here's what we're doing and here's how it's measured.
You don't arrive at those indicators haphazardly. You arrive at them through multi-stakeholder dialogue, discussion, and decisions that set an end in mind and then have a pathway that is achievable, that is not just achievable, it's specific, it's measurable, it's action-oriented, it's realistic, and it has timetables associated with it.
You've got what your desired state's going to be, but it's overwhelming to see all the different pieces and how do you get from here to there, and you just do one little piece at a time, and soon enough you've got a bunch of pieces that you can put together and you have some visual progress, and that inspires you to take the next step.
I really had no expectations coming into this. I'm encouraged by the multiple stakeholder groups that are here on their own free will to work together. I'm encouraged at the work that's already been done in the egg industry, and I'm encouraged about the ability for groups like this to meet to lay the path forward.